At 6:02. Okay, we're gonna start with the animal, control. Did you wanna get you a book and just
Yeah.
at least see? You
Maybe.
got a copy, right?
Is that where we left off? Is that what you're thinking?
Well, that's what I was told the mayor wanted to start at. I didn't know that, whatever.
Oh, is it some of complete? I think so.
I don't know, I tried.
What chapter? Chapter 2. It's okay. I just seen this right here, and we're paying attention to the other side.
Okay, so it starts with the definitions. Do y'all wanna do anything with those? Do you wanna leave them, just for future reference?
Yeah, I think they're okay. As far as, I mean, it's just to reference the different sections and all. Wording and stuff.
So y'all two
And
all right with
we may,
that?
and we may find as we go through this that there are words that we are not clear. So we can revise as we go.
Okay, the first section is, permit required. Debbie, is that one you have?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what do you think about that, Carolyn?
I think, when we talked about this before, I think they wanted, or I think the consensus was keep the permit. And we even came up with a price, and what it was, like, I don't know, like $5 or $1 or something, I don't remember. Something to take care of the cost.
Now, it has to cover the cost of whatever the medallion is
Yeah.
also.
Yeah.
Are your microphones on?
They are now.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, but it doesn't, it's not gonna apply, it says, to the small birds, like a parakeet or something.
Right.
Fish tanks or, what would it be, could you have amphibian? Okay, fish and snakes, I guess, or lizards, or,
Well, you didn't say snakes in there anyway.
yeah, it's a.
We had snakes here in this town. We had snakes. The guy went to jail. His wife let him go.
Definitions are important.
Okay, so we will leave that little section in here?
I think that's okay.
Okay.
Okay, do we want?
So we wanna, at the back of this, do we wanna start like a fee page, or do we wanna attach the fees right here where it says,
No, in fact, I would recommend anywhere that it refers to something like a permit fee or a revision of a code, like electrical codes or fire codes or whatever, that we reference a fee page or a code page to specify what that code is, so that we don't have to constantly come in here and revise this and
right,
adopt.
or
You
keep
just change
going
this.
from,
You just change the fee page.
Right.
or
Yeah.
keep from going from one page to the other, see this, see this,
Right.
see this. They go to one page and see the fees for this particular item.
Right,
It'll say 2.201.
yeah.
All right, so we're gonna add our, I'm assuming we don't have a fee page already?
No, I don't think so. I thought there was one in here.
That goes on which version?
You're right.
This is another section.
There's not, and we could put the fee page right behind where it says chapter 2.
That section. You just call it appendix to chapter 2.
Right.
What's on right now, it's good,
Okay, so,
So do we, and then are you keeping like a list of kind of side action items or? Okay, so permit fees for, animal permit fees or?
Right.
Perk fees.
After we verify the price of medallions, so that we're not losing money.
Yeah.
and we've got what section it goes to, so it should be 2.201.
Yep.
So, okay, permit regulations.
I think the only item I would add there is the city clerk may amend with approval of the council such regulations from time to time,
Right.
or wherever it makes sense to add it in there. With approval of the council, the city clerk may amend such regulations.
Or just put, the name be amended, don't put the city clerk in there at all. I mean, because the council's the one that's
Right,
gonna
and why wouldn't it say the city council may amend instead of the city clerk?
There you go.
Maybe.
that way it all don't come down on one person.
So do we have these regulations somewhere? Right here.
And these are only for dogs.
Yeah, let's see.
It says any animal under
Maybe.
the age of 3 months.
This is dog regulations, this should be dog regulations. Number of cats.
Should
That's
it
the
be
one up
any
above it.
animals instead of
Russell, that's
dogs?
the one up above it. This is 3 months. This one looks like
So it would include cats as well, based on the permit requirement.
yeah, on the, this, Article 2.900 says, dogs, or it says dog regulation, but in here it says dogs or cats down below, so.
Yeah, so there's specific stuff under 2.9, but I think anything above that falls under those definitions as in 2.201, the permit required is for an animal over 3 months of age, except small birds, newts, and fish. I don't know, whatever, amphibian, not snakes.
So should that change from dog regulations to dog and cat?
Well, this one says 6 months of age, and this one right here says 3 months, so we need to go one way or the other.
And what are you looking at now?
Where are y'all, y'all skipped down to 2.9?
Well, yeah, we were looking for the regulations,
Okay.
and so to see if we had any.
Specifically for dogs.
Well, it says dog, and then if you read it, it says dogs or cats. And then it says 6 months of age, where in the first paragraph it said 3. And at 3, probably on the first one, we need to go to 6.
Just say domestic animal.
Under 201?
No, I'm just asking if y'all want to change
I
that.
would think-
It needs to be changed, one of them needs to be changed.
Where are you looking at the 3?
Under 201,
Uh-huh.
permit required.
Oh, you want that?
So permits are gonna be, they're gonna include things like required inoculations. I would assume you're gonna have to have, you have to have a rabies vaccination certification and get the tag. So I would think earlier is better in that case.
So we want to change, the 2.913 to 3 months instead of 6?
Okay, hang on. Y'all said 2.201?
Mm-hmm, that's the very first.
First one,
Paragraph.
second sentence.
I don't have a 3.
It says, or have custody of any animal over 3 months of age. So it's the second line.
Right? Okay, so, oh, I see what you're saying. It says the age here, okay.
So I think that in that case, 2913, that allows for somebody to have a litter of puppies, right? And not push them over some sort of maximum allowed. So if you've got a set of puppies, they should be weaned and gone by 6 months. So I think that's okay. That's not about keeping, that's about that natural process.
It's under limitation of the number of dogs or cats.
Yeah. So, but you wouldn't have to, you wouldn't get an, I don't know what's the word for it, you wouldn't get a tag from the city for a puppy that you were gonna sell. And I think that's what allows that.
Yeah, because over 3 months, that would give you the time period before then to get rid of them.
So that should stay.
I think that one's okay.
Yeah.
I don't
If
think
you're, it's differentiating, the
different
permit
things.
required, yeah, the permit's saying that, if you get a puppy at 8 weeks old, before it's 3 months old, you need to come get this permit. 2.9 is saying that this 5 dog or cat limit, or any combination thereof, over 6 months of age, so that's
Right.
a litter, so, 2 separate
Yeah.
things.
So are y'all good with the permit regulations, 2.202? Okay, 2.203, issuance of permit.
Yeah, I think it's okay.
If you're gonna set a fee, right?
That, and I think that.
Well, that's gonna be in your permits and fees. That's gonna be a different page, so we're gonna need, I guess, something to direct them back to that page.
That's what we're saying. We're gonna do a page with just fees.
Yeah.
And say which section it's associated with. It'll be in this section instead of saying, go look here and go look there.
Okay. So the permits and fees page is gonna have all of them, wherever it's, or is this page gonna have?
Chapter 2 will have its own page of permits and fees.
So is it gonna be?
The
okay.
way I was meaning, I mean that.
Right, and that's the way I understood it too. So should this 2-203, should it say, see applicable permit fees in it? you know, I mean,
We just need to change the found in the appendix to found in this chapter.
Yeah,
yeah, that's what I'm saying.
yeah.
Tell them where to find it, yeah. So we're gonna change that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, section 2.204, permit period.
The only note that I made on that one was, so the 1 year thing sounds like we're expecting something to change over the course of a year, like the rabies vaccine runs out or something, but I don't know, is a rabies vaccine only good for a year?
I think
Yes,
they're now
In the
good for
beginning,
two.
yes, no, well, if you get the first one, then you get a second one within a certain amount of time, then after that, you can go every 3 years.
I would think whatever's commonly practiced would be a reasonable amount of time for that,
To update the,
yeah, for the
But it
registration.
But it may be a
and,
good idea just to have them at least update, or at least check in if there's been an address change or a phone number change or anything like that every year,
yeah.
because that happens.
Okay.
We may not need them to pay a new fee if we're not changing their medallion. But you may at least want them to check in and,
See if they're updated on the shots.
so, yeah, make sure they're current on their immunizations and make sure that they're, or at least the rabies, and make sure that their home address and phone number are still.
So should it be obtained or verified? Something like that?
Something like that, yeah. Like, instead of maybe obtained, I think we should change it to verified.
Well, they may need to obtain one too.
Well,
Well, not if they already have one, they've already obtained it.
Yeah, but if they don't have it,
Right.
I don't know.
Well, it says shall be valid for 1 year from the date of issue.
Right.
So if we already issued it, then they're just
Unless-
verifying.
Yeah, unless,
I mean, we can leave it obtained / verified if y'all wish.
let's do obtained or verified.
okay, how about obtained from the city or verified by the city each year, just to clarify that it's a process that involves the city clerk or some other city process.
So we-
I just, so be obtained from the city or verified by the city each year. And we can put a form on the website that's verified, information on tag number. Print it out and bring it to you. Or email it.
Or it should say city clerk probably, because of the wording previously.
City clerk.
so are we taking out the new permit fee? So we're not charging a new permit fee per year?
Or we
Well,
could-
or
we could leave it-
verified.
We could leave a new permit fee paid if applicable.
Yeah, so as I think more about this, it makes sense that we minimize the cost on residents, because every time we have to issue them a medallion, we have to charge them for that. But if they bring a copy of the dog's shot record and updated information, we can update that record on the system without having to issue a new permit.
Right, exactly.
So that just
Yeah.
seems kinder, I think, following.
So
I would
it-
leave the new fee paid if applicable, like on the off chance they lost their medallion.
Yeah.
That way we're
So
like
you're gonna add
issuing
that on
free.
there?
Mhm.
Well, under permits, we could have a lost medallion fee.
Yeah.
So,
All right, so how are we wording it again? verified if,
The permit, if not revoked, shall be valid for 1 year from the date of issuance.
It'll be-
I prefer issuance, but whatever.
Yeah.
A new permit shall be obtained or verified by city clerk each year by every owner, and a new fee paid if applicable. Yes?
I like it.
Okay, revocation of permit.
I didn't have any notes on that one.
so I guess code enforcement is gonna be the one that checks it out.
They'd have to.
Yeah, because, you know, it's an ordinance, so.
So are we leaving this in here like it is, or,
205?
205? Uh-huh.
Or we can always take it, since we don't have anyone to enforce it, you can take it out and just leave the subsection open as reserved for future use.
No, I would feel more comfortable leaving stuff in that we're not gonna use and just not enforcing it.
Correct. So we don't have to go back and add it back in.
Yeah. Plus,
So that way
that
if we
makes
get
yours.
one,
Yeah.
and he comes in, we say, here, we need you to do this.
Okay.
And that way you don't have to, because it's already been approved by the next step. We just need to ask him, the lawyer, when he looks over these,
Mhm.
if we need to put additional wording out here and then take it off once we get a code enforcer.
Yeah. When he writes it up, yeah. Hopefully we'll
Because
have
if
one
we're
by
not-
then.
So, you know, the city secretary is responsible for the permitting process. If the code enforcer comes to her and says, this is an issue, revoke the permit, then it would still be the city secretary's responsibility to revoke the permit or anything else. And
Yeah.
it may be there's some language in here that, what was I looking at?
The only thing I see is, it says something about, what is that here? Inspect all animals in the premises. So, humane officers or pound keepers shall be permitted to inspect all animals on premises at any time, and the city clerk shall, if permission, you know, of the inspection is refused. and
But you being
permit.
a city clerk, do you want this sole responsibility? Okay, I didn't think you did.
Well, it's really not though. It's going to be left to the humane officer.
Well, there are a lot
Code
of,
enforcement.
It's the way it's worded.
yeah, and well, there are a lot of roles in here, like the director of the Bureau of Licenses. Right, so who's doing that?
Right. To me, that should go away and it should be the city clerk shall maintain a record of the identifying numbers and shall make this record available to the public.
Okay. Or shall,
I mean-
I think there's some, the attorney may have some wording in here that allows it to be a little more flexible, like shall cause to be recorded, so that the city secretary might not be the one actually doing the work. If there's somebody in a role that's collecting it, she would just be required to capture it. Or make sure that it's captured properly.
Yeah, because she's over all the city records, so. So we good with 205?
Well, we're gonna have him look at the wording, because you yourself said you didn't feel comfortable in revoking.
I mean,
So there may
I
be
guess the way I'm
another way.
reading, I mean, my question is, how would I know to revoke somebody's?
You're gonna have to get it from the humane officer. I mean, that's what it
Person whose
says.
permit is revoked shall within 10 days thereafter humanely dispose of all animals being owned, kept, or harbored by such person with no permit, no further permit. It shall be, if it shall be a condition of the issuance of any permit to any animal owner kept for commercial purposes, humane officers will counsel shall be. This is only for commercial purposes. It states here, it shall be a condition of the issuance of any permit to any owner or of animals kept for commercial purposes that humane officers or townkeepers shall be permitted to inspect all
Yeah.
animals and the premises
Affects
where
one
animals.
person.
Right, exactly.
Oh.
Which is somebody that you don't do in the court, not.
So, should that
So I guess I'm confused with the wording in that.
kept
I
for,
think we need to have the lawyer look at it, and he's gonna look at it all anyway.
Right.
Yeah.
So, might as well use.
Well, and there have been some significant changes in Texas law about animal cruelty over the last few years, so a lot of this may get redone.
Okay, 2.206 license tag.
I don't have any changes on that.
And I do. Each, with the year of issuance, so we're not issuing a new tag each year, we're just gonna leave it as
Hmm.
I don't think we ought to put a year of issuance on it anyway. Because, I mean, we buy 1,000 tags and we use 3, and the others we throw them away,
a, right.
you know,
So just stamped with an identification number?
yeah. And that can always be traced back through the city hall.
Right. And then they fill out their application. Director of the Bureau of Licenses, shall be.
Yeah, that's what he'd said earlier, so.
I'm gonna change that one as well.
Well, I think, so in procedure manuals in general, you would have a table that defines what the roles are and who's currently in that role. So unless we want to go through and change all these titles, which might not be a bad idea. I mean, while we're here, we might as well just make it city clerk.
Yeah,
And
that's
maintain
what
a
I'm
record.
thinking.
Where's that one?
Last sentence of 2206.
The Director of the Bureau of Licenses. Now I'm just making stuff
That would look better on a business card.
up.
So are we gonna take out the ordinance adopting code? Right here?
Yeah, because that'll be,
Nobody likes the
Well,
front row?
yeah, so the question I have about that is, if somebody goes and looks at,
I'll swap you.
if they start at the top of the document and read from the top, at some point in the first 50 pages, they come to a section that says, all these were adopted on this date, right? People don't search for information like that. They search for the specific thing they're looking for.
Right.
And if we actually take the time just to put in, this was adopted on this date, here's the ordinance, right?
Right.
Then if all I search for is what's required for me to license a dog, I can see what the requirements are and that it's been adopted. Otherwise, there's a question, well, it doesn't say there's an adoption date here, so it's not
Right.
enforced. I think it's a good idea to have that information
Right,
out there.
that should be part of the entire chapter though, like your whole ordinance.
And it, right, and it is at the very top. It
Right.
says, here's the date that all of these were adopted.
Mhm.
But people don't search for information like that. They search for section 2206 about licensing.
So you wanna put it under every single section?
Yeah, I think if we've got the adoption date and the ordinance number while we're at it, let's just drop it in there. I can show you how to automate that.
Yes, I know.
So we're gonna add adopted dates to all
Every section.
sections?
Well, there, yeah, the space is there for it. I just think it wasn't used when it was initially adopted.
So we're gonna take that out and replace it with what?
Yeah, so it'll
what
actually
was
say
said.
adopted,
By, I mean,
adopted, whatever date,
right, we do it.
ordinance, blah, blah.
Okay, Article 2.300, cruelty to animals. Are y'all good with that little paragraph?
Yeah, again, I think there was a law that went into effect January 18th, 2022 called the Safe Outdoor Dogs Act.
Mhm.
I don't know if it'd be appropriate to reference that, but I think the city attorney would probably be a good resource for recommendations about that.
Yeah.
I just think everywhere that we can help people understand what the justification for what we're doing is, that also makes sense.
Okay, Article 2.400, dangerous animals. Now, where are those two words on the side?
So
We need
that,
some normal words,
Fair.
okay?
Like a circus.
Like a circus?
Yeah.
Well, we need some normal words.
Yeah.
when you get lawyers involved, there's
I'm sorry,
involved.
Yeah.
FERAE.
Yeah, I don't
I think
know.
they're, okay, 2 years of Latin are about to pay off. I
And
think that-
NATURA.
I think that's the root of the word feral. So it probably has
Feral
to
in
do
nature.
with feral animals,
Mhm.
but,
Or,
Well, let's write feral.
well, make sure the attorney, make sure the attorney does that, 'cause,
Yeah.
all I can say is the farmer's.
Okay, so 2.4, we want to,
2.4A. It's under A.
wild animals refers to any animals that are not designated domesticated animals by law.
I believe
Okay,
the
so
state
we
of
will
Texas
change-
has a code for what they call a dangerous animal.
Okay, so we want to change this permit from the chief of police. Correct.
I mean, do we even want to permit feral animals at all?
Well, we're gonna let the
I know
lawyer
they
do that,
do.
but we're not gonna get a permit from the chief of
The
police.
chief
No.
gave it to me.
'Cause that's what
well,
it says.
but this is a special permit.
And
If they get one for this, if they get one for a dangerous animal, it's gonna need to be a special permit, not just a regular
From the
permit.
chief of police is gonna do that?
Well, I don't know that that's a,
Oh, we might as well leave it in, because we're getting a new chief in the next 5 months,
yeah.
as I understand it.
Okay,
You might want to read B out loud, Disha, because we were talking about this conversationally
okay,
earlier.
B. The members of the police department or any other person in the city are authorized to kill any dangerous animals of any kind when it is necessary for the protection of any person or property.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah. But
I
has
don't
any
know that.
laws changed on that?
It says,
In
I-
case y'all didn't know, we have at least 3 that have been attacking people?
But can you lawfully do that? That's what I
That's,
mean.
Well,
that's when our
So-
lawyer cross-reference it with.
When our
Yeah, that's
lawyer
why
looks at it.
I'm saying B needs to be attorney approved.
Mhm.
All of it, all of the
No,
ordinance?
I understand, but I mean,
Okay,
this one in specific, you know,
Can we leave it worded this way?
and
yeah.
So I think most attorneys will tell you nothing is, they say, quote, "Nothing is ever settled in law," which means it doesn't matter if you have it in an ordinance book. If you shoot somebody's dog, you're probably gonna go to court.
Yeah.
So, but from the city standpoint,
Well, unless
if I'm
you
standing
want
there,
them
but if you don't have anything in the here,
Mhm.
then, you know, that gives them more.
So the example I was giving, if I had known that it wasn't a problem to take that action during that situation, there would have been a different outcome, right? Because I would have been informed. This informs people that you don't have to worry. If you broke up a dog fight that almost killed your wife or one of your pets, and you felt like it was necessary to put that dog down, the city is not going to do anything, right? The owner of that dog might do something, but the city has said, if you feel like you're protecting yourself or your property,
Right.
that's okay.
So,
Yeah.
civil laws,
Mhm. It will not be a criminal matter.
Yeah,
yeah.
not from the city's perspective.
Right.
Civil.
Okay, moving to Article 2.5, noisy animals.
I think that's very plain, and I like the simplicity of it.
Okay, y'all good? The other two good? Y'all good?
Mhm.
Okay, 2.6, stray animals.
I had a question about the possibility of partnering with adjacent municipalities. Is it possible to outsource something like that? If we called Commerce and said, hey, we got a problem, come pick this animal up?
Not unless
They
you
won't
pay
do it.
$100.
Well, no, that's what I'm saying. If we've got a problem with somebody's animal that's causing some sort of a safety issue,
Mhm.
have them come pick that animal up and then let them deal with it and
No,
pay the
'cause
fine
they're
and the
gonna-
fee.
No, because what they're gonna want to do is the person who's calling it in,
Mhm.
like as a city, we would have to pay for that. They'd
Mhm.
expect us to pay it. And then
Yeah.
if that person ever just pick up their animal,
Okay.
then we're out
So,
that.
so I'm not talking about something you would do every day, 4 times a day for a cat or a dog. I'm
Right.
talking about,
Oh,
there's
you're
a
talking about
cow,
Oh, a cow?
yeah.
That way, actually, we would,
You call the cattle
probably
police.
the county,
No.
and they have wranglers if it's bad enough.
Mhm.
And the wranglers do take those livestock and hold them
For
until
X
the owner,
amount
for
of,
X
X
amount of
amount of
time.
days.
Mhm.
And if they're not claimed,
They
then
take
they're
it
taken and
themselves.
sold.
Uh-huh,
Yeah.
Okay,
And then they keep the money.
yeah, yeah.
It's the same thing with a dog. If you bite somebody, then you call the county and they can come out and impound it.
Mhm.
And that's no charge.
Right.
As long as, you know, there is something written up and it was a dog bite. Now, if it is tear your pants or whatever, that could run into a little bit different stuff.
I think based on 2.4B, we might see a little less impounding.
Yeah.
As long as we have somebody that we can call for these animals,
Yeah.
especially the big ones that people are known to run into.
We need to put dog in on that too, push for dogs. Seem like they're done in the dumping ground.
Okay, so do y'all wanna add dog or, cause I don't think they'll come get a dog.
Only if it's done something. I mean, I've already been
There's
through
a
that
whole,
with them.
2.9 is just strictly about dogs, so
Yeah.
you're
Is that covered in there in terms of impounding?
running at
Okay.
large and disturbing the peace and
Yes.
nuisances. and all
2.9
that.
is?
Mhm, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, 2.7, diseased animals.
I don't have any changes.
No.
So y'all are good with 2.7?
Mhm.
Okay, 2.8, housing, keeping, of certain animals.
So I just made a note here because we had revised an ordinance, and it wasn't in this documentation. We had revised a goat ordinance, I think, a year or so ago.
Mhm.
Do you remember where that was, Dana, or was that here on
It was here.
2.80? Okay.
It was in here, yeah.
Okay.
Well, hold on, no.
No, it's
This
not in
is,
this.
nuh-uh, this is
Not in this section.
this is the 100-foot rule.
Okay.
Yeah.
Um, This is basically just saying that like, for instance, I'll use Oak Lane as a good example. Those neighbors are not 100 feet apart, so like Jan couldn't have a cow in her backyard because it's
Okay.
too close to the neighbor. That's what B is about.
Okay. No, but it does say it is unlawful to keep
Oh,
it
yeah,
anywhere in the
anywhere.
city.
did
That's
change
right.
that.
We took that out. We took out the anywhere in the city,
Okay.
and we just swapped it with the
Okay, so it just-
cattle, chickens within 100 feet of any residence,
Okay.
other than the residence of the person so keeping or having.
So we
said
just
animal.
removed that anywhere?
Mhm,
Yeah.
yeah. So they can have goats, cattle, and chickens, so long as there's enough distance between them and their neighbor.
I remember I asked for Mr. Morris's counsel on that because I didn't understand why goats would be restricted. He said if you can pour water through a fence, a goat can get out of it.
That is pretty true, yeah. But I think for me, my question is, on this one, when we say the 100-foot, is that from door to door?
From any residence.
Or
So
is it-
I think that's from wall to wall,
Yeah.
point to point on any house. I don't see any need to change that. But we should have in the minutes from that meeting a year or so ago what the wording was that we changed on that one.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure we just took out anywhere in the city.
This is another area where the attorney, I think, can provide some counsel here, but I think there's a state law that allows for chickens in most situations, residential, urban, all that good stuff, so
Yeah.
that 100 feet for chickens may, I mean.
I think if they
address-
took out the rooster, I mean.
You can, yeah,
something
you
about
can,
rooster.
you can, yeah, you can, a city couldn't tell people they couldn't have chicken or hens, but they could
Mhm.
say no roosters.
Go back to B, and y'all said that only the, anywhere in the city was taken out?
Mhm.
Well, I just want to know what the
Because
language was that was
originally
adopted.
goats were, people couldn't have goats at all.
That's what I'm saying.
We took that out because.
Okay, but it still says, if you just take out anywhere in the city, it shall be unlawful to keep or have any goats
Or
anywhere
any
in
cattle.
the.
Mhm.
Well, I
Or
understand.
cattle, or chickens within 100 feet of any residence.
Okay, so it just, now is just the 100 feet.
Correct, it's
Okay.
the 100-foot rule.
So it's lawful. Or it's
No.
unlawful for these to be in there.
So did we take out,
Except for the chickens.
Right, we do need to take out chickens. Probably need to drop chickens off of there because state statute
So on
says you
B-
can have chickens everywhere.
The chickens, you can take off the chickens.
Again, I don't remember what the wording was we changed it to, but I feel like it was
all right, so,
comprehensive.
Did we take out anywhere in the city on the top line and the last line?
Other than residents of the person so keeping or having percent anywhere in the city.
This is worded very.
Yeah, it really is.
To keep or have any goats or any cattle within 100 feet of any residence, other than the residence of the person so keeping. Yeah, we need, I think we did drop that one. Because it's redundant. There's no
The
reason
period
for it.
should be under such animals.
Yes, it should be.
Y'all see anything else in 2.8 that needs to be changed, or y'all good, or?
Well, I have a question about, does this allow, could somebody come in here and put in a chicken farm? In a couple of houses that held 15 or 20,000 chickens apiece?
As long as
In
they're,
the city limits?
Yeah. And do we want to permit that?
because you can restrict the number of hens up to, they can, you can,
I think state law says you can't restrict.
no less than 4.
Yeah, it's like a residential egg
Right.
kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
But
Mhm.
the other
Yeah, 'cause
side
it
of that
was-
is if
had to-
somebody decided they wanted to buy 50 acres and put 5 chicken houses on them, that could have a ambient.
They won't be in our city limits.
They're not gonna be in the city, yeah. There's
There's no 50 acres.
no, they're, yeah, I mean, they have to buy half the town and knock everything
So
down.
it's a chicken house with up to, I just feel like there should be a limit. Or at least something that prevents commercial level.
Would that not cover it on C, on the poultry or animal yard? No.
Well, that just defines it, but
Keeping
as
it
long as it's
clean,
within 100
yeah.
feet.
No, C is shall include every enclosure, shed, or structure
Used to house
used
two
to
or
house
more.
2 or more live fowl.
He's saying like put a limit on how many.
Yeah, no, I understand.
So what do y'all, I mean, what are you thinking?
E is about a joke. Every poultry or animal yard shall be adequately enclosed so as to be impenetrable against rats and other rodents.
That's not gonna happen.
It ain't gonna happen.
Well, maybe that's the way we keep them out.
Boy, a rat can get through anything.
Okay.
So are we wanting to leave D the way it is?
I think that's a
Yeah.
bit.
And strike E completely out.
I don't know.
So, again, I think the attorney might have some counsel here,
Wording.
but I think all the intent is it needs to be kept as clean as possible.
Yeah,
Right,
no,
so-
and no rats running around inside that are
Yeah.
preventable.
Yeah.
Would you wanna add something that states?
So I would ask the attorney about putting something in there that prevents commercial poultry operations. or live commercial poultry, how's that? Because I don't think anybody would have a problem if somebody wanted to put a chicken processor over on the other side of 50.
That's the bad smell.
Really? They
They
use a lot of
do
water.
stink.
It's a little funky though.
They use a lot of water.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, Article 2.900 dog regulations.
I'm okay with all that.
Do what?
I'm okay with all that. The first part of it, page 26.
901, 902.
Okay,
It's a little out of order there. Oh, sorry, that's an addendum. Or an amendment.
what do you do?
So shouldn't this not be within the permit stuff?
You would think so.
Is it more or less redundant?
Redundant.
I mean, here's called a license and here's a permit, but basically we're asking for the same thing.
Yeah, because there's a fee to all of it.
I mean, it all goes, I mean, it even, you know, there's gonna be a license tag around the dog's neck and,
It's 2.201. I'm sorry.
I don't know why they separated
The
this like
permit
they did.
required is already there.
yeah.
Then we don't need that saying the same thing under
Right.
2.901.
1 and 2.
Yeah, one
Yeah.
and two.
Well, 2 is a little more specific.
It's a little, yeah.
Well, we could always update
We, yeah, we
202.
go back to the first one and update it to include
As
the,
sex, breed, name, and address of the owner.
Yeah.
And name of animal, not
Yeah.
just dog.
I don't think we need it in 2 locations.
Okay, so do we want to strike 2.901 and 2.902? And then start it with,
Just wrap it into 201 as an A and a B, or a B and a C. Is that what you're thinking?
underneath the permit part
Yeah.
I would
on the
just,
first page?
Under 2.2. Because again, I think that if somebody were searching specifically for a dog permit, they would probably search dog permit or dog tag versus animal permits. I think the language is important there just to help people find what they're looking for.
so we're really only issuing permits for what? Cats, dogs.
Yes.
Dogs and cats, yeah.
I think that's a practical thing. I think what that permit section says is any animal over 3 months of age, except fish and small birds and amphibians. Snakes is not. And you have enough.
She's updated it. She's gonna make it say things. Spiders.
So are we gonna just add this to 202?
I think we might as well roll it up.
Yeah.
I'll make it sound pretty.
Okay.
Okay, so basically
So we're gonna-
include 901 and 902 in section
202.
202. We just have a couple of minutes till the next meeting, y'all want to stop here?
Yeah, 'cause- so the dog regulations will not start until,
Adoption of the,
9-3. 9-3.
well,
Maybe.
so we'll pick up at
got all these actually,
2913.
which we've already talked about. You've got dangerous dogs right next, which we've already discussed. Running at large is already back in the
Pretty much
back.
discussed, yeah.
A disturbance of the peace is already there.
What page you on?
2-7.
But if you back up to your stray animals, noisy animals, diseased animals,
Yeah,
again, it's redundancy at this point.
yeah,
Yeah,
that's
all
what we
the
found last
animals
time.
is,
Mhm. Basically, the entire 2.9 is already
Been through.
covered in these others. For some reason, they just broke it down specifically to dogs.
Well, and they've got some, there's dogs and cats
Other than
living
the
together
groundskeeper, yeah.
in 2913.
Yeah.
So do we want to start section, when we pick up 2.908?
Let's start back at let's start at 29 again, and maybe everybody take a closer look at
Okay.
dog stuff. Because I think that's a common enough animal. That's what everybody thinks of when they think of permits and tags, right? So,
Mhm.
Yeah, but I think we either need to go back to 202 or 22, whatever it is. I don't think we need both of them.
No, we've already got to mark out, combine,
Yeah, but we're saying go back and look at it one more time.
so we've rolled 2901 and 2902 up to section 2.0, gosh, 201 and
202.
202.
Yes.
Yeah. But then there's a section down below that about limitations on number of dogs and cats. And so, and that was an amendment to 2.9, so that's why I was saying, let's
Yeah.
flag the pickup there, 2.9.
Okay, we're going to adjourn the ordinance workshop at 6:59. Abandonment of Stevens Street to go to the Cemetery Association, Ladonia Cemetery Association. Do we have any objections or anything?
It's just this little piece over here.
Do we know what the status of the attorney's work on that is? He was preparing documents, right?
I have not received anything.
I haven't heard anything either.
Does that have to go to Bonham so they take that part off of Google Maps?
Yeah.
Eventually,
replat
once, right. I think as a council, y'all have to approve everything. And once it's approved, then he would prepare all the documents that need to be prepared. Because he's not going to do that if y'all aren't going to approve the approval.
Makes sense.
Speak up. You know I'm for the cemetery.
No.
Yes.
Not you.
Junkyard dog for. Us Yankees could be junkyard dogs too.
You got a permit?
No. Only vicious when provoked. actually not even vicious, just get louder and louder and louder.
So can I ask a question? Is that all right? Sure. So is it going to be, do we know if it's going to be just closed off, or is it going to be maintained so that we can have we can go around like we used to be able to, so that it's not as congested there?
From what I understand, the gates will still be left there. They will be left unlocked, but just chained as if they were.
Okay.
That's my understanding.
Okay.
And the Cemetery Association will maintain that road all the way through the loop
Okay.
to the, actually it ends at the fence
We've
instead of
always
the,
maintained all the roads.
Right.
so it's
Not
just,
the city, the
Right.
cemetery association.
So then how about on this side of
on the
Stevens?
side it will go to the chain link fence there behind the church.
Okay. So will it be
Well,
usable?
actually,
Well,
only
no, it's
that
the-
north side, it has to be where the arch is.
Yeah, it's with arches.
He's talking about
Okay.
Stevens
The arch.
Street.
Because that goes to people's backyards and the city water treatment and stuff.
So it's just to the arch.
You're specifically talking about Stevens Street though, not Church Street.
Right,
Okay.
Church Street is where the city barn is.
Oh, so-
Actually, where the arch is.
Right, right.
Stevens Street will still be accessible up to the gate that is currently there.
Right.
Yes, for the residents that live there.
And, right, but it will be a gate that could be used if, like, say there's a funeral service or
Oh,
there's.
yes,
People
yes,
can go
yes.
around and.
Yeah, there's no lock on the gate. There's
There-
just
that don't intend
heavy,
no
heavy
locking.
chains that have a V, which you put the chain in between so the wind doesn't blow it.
I just thought it was like locked shut. I never went down there, so I thought it was locked, so.
You thought it was locked?
Yeah, so. now-
No.
No.
We've had a lot of trouble in past years with kids using that particular entrance to go in there and create a lot of mischief and havoc.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Cool.
The Rehoboth Cemetery is terrible.
Well, we just like to walk in the cemetery and then, pick up things. We pick up some garbage while we're in there and stuff like that. And, if we could.
I hated that they put that little dumpster inside the gate there because I used to pick up old flowers that blow around and throw them in that little, I understand because I see people putting tires and all kinds of stuff in there. It's like, I wish we had a trash here.
Set on fire and burn
Yeah. Cool. Thank you.
Yeah, at one time, there was no Stevens Street.
Right. Yep.
And part of it's gone, but you'll notice there was a sidewalk and steps up into the IOF. Because people would come and clean their own graves once a year and stuff like that. And they even had picnics and stuff in the cemetery in the old days. Russell, are you a Baylor Bear? Yeah, I didn't know that. That was my maiden name, Bears.
Spelled B-E-A-R-S.
B-E-A-R-S.
Now, you learned how to pronounce B-E-X-A-R since you've been down here, right? B-E-X-A-R County?
Oh, Bear,
Bear County.
yeah.
That's how we know when
Actually,
the weather folks aren't from around.
It was a German name and it evolved through people nodding, putting in the records, not spelling correctly, because I'm sure it was B-A-E-R HR or BAHER or whatever, but it ended up Bears.
I like it.
And the S wasn't on when my 1, 2, 3, 4 great-grandfather became a citizen. It was BEAR. No S, no BA, whatever, German version. It makes it pull your hair out when you're trying to find family roots. But I remember my grandfather, World War II, telling my father and his 2 sisters, don't tell anyone you're German.
Huh?
Church Street's the other one. Look at that. Where's that one? Park. Park Street. Oh, the other one, wait, Park Street. Park Street.
So what will our next step be? What to do?
Let you know what other people, it should go on the next agenda, for the next council meeting and.
Looking to see where there's room to put more
Yeah.
pictures. Well, no.
Yes or no, and then.
But I would like to put the McFarland Meat Market
Oh, yeah. I'll double check that.
to go over there, and then there's still some space over there.
As far as agreement or work
Right.
road closing?
No,
Then you should do the paperwork.
But not serious. Then it will all be upset.
Not planning and zoning or? It won't have to be.
I don't know.
I guess she's doing better, because she said, don't come over tonight for some reason. And I said, well, I'm not, I'm going to city council. But she never said, because I'm still sick. So I don't know.
And you know,
Your farm shop's been up on.
it's probably got it.
Todd, you get all moved? Did you get everything? No?
Oh, it's yeah.
Down to the colors.
What is this one?
Carolyn. Through the phone. He's a plumber.
So how do you know what your bag
Got one of those files on the other side of it, so many times. We should be together.
Yeah. Well, Jim was going out yesterday or something.
That's right there by
He
the
said, I think I'll stop by the Franklin's and see what's left. He said there was hardly anything. All the clothes and everything were gone.
Yeah. Once the girls stopped at the store, they got a whole bunch of clothes.
Who owns it?
When you got down your sidewalk.
I don't know what they're doing with them, but
Well, if you're the right size, but my clothes, is for just hanging out in the yard and the house. I surely don't get dressed up.
I don't need it.
I try to wear any dress clothes I have. If I can't, then I'd be forced to go buy something, but I hate clothes shopping. I like buying it for kids, but not me. Uh-uh.
That's because they don't make anything fun and cute for big people.
Fun for what?
Big people.
I don't like to buy for adults, just kids. I don't like to buy for me. Nope. Now you lead me to a junk store, antique store, or something like that. Flea market, you know, that's my thing.
That's a tree road.
When my kids were teenagers, they'd say, "Do you have to bring that junk in the house when my friends are here? I know you'll make it look pretty, but it looks awful when you drag it in the house."
Nice.
I said, "Boy, aren't we snooty?" Of course, I could care what anyone said my whole life, you know. Just, I don't care. You think you're bothering me?
Okay, the public hearing for abandonment of Stevens Street is now over. Do I have a first and a motion today?
Move to adjourn.
All in favor?
Aye.
We will adjourn at 7:30 for our next hearing. It is now 7:30. We will call to order the public hearing for rezoning request for on Park Street. Russell?
Here.
Debbie? Here. Myself? Greg?
Here.
Kimmy is absent. Okay, this hearing is for request to rezone 111 Park Street from residential to commercial. So does anybody have any thoughts or Isabel?
I'm against it because if they put something in there where they're going in and out, depending on what kind of business, or down the road if he sells it or something, it's gonna end up like Taylor Street. Dust on everybody's house, allergies, and the same kind of garbage. And that's why I'm against it.
What's on Taylor Street?
Dust.
Taylor Street,
Taylor
that's
Street.
the road
Yeah,
by
but-
East Side.
By
That's
east
all.
side,
Yeah.
connecting to 64.
So you're just talking about the street itself, not the rezoning. You're just talking about the street itself,
Well,
not the rezoning.
The traffic that's.
the traffic just when he's on.
I don't want it
Possible.
commercial for that reason. I'm against it.
So Park Street is gravel,
Yeah.
but Redner is not.
And Depot is,
Half and half.
Half and
Yeah.
half.
yeah.
And you have to cross Mill Street, depending on which way you go, if you go from Church Street or whatever.
Right.
But you'll be tearing up going across Mill Street too, and, you know,
Redner Street.
I just don't think it's a good idea. He could build something over on his 909 property or somewhere else.
You
It's
can't
for
because
sale.
them gas tanks and you don't wanna talk about that.
And the cemetery that's there.
Yeah, that's it.
Well, I didn't know he bought that up, and I said, there is a cemetery back there. It's got a
been
couple
hauling-
of stones.
He's been
One
hauling dirt
was
back
Rose something or another. But I'm gonna check with the historical and see if it's on the map as a
And where'd you
cemetery.
say that it was? Right behind the,
909.
Yeah.
909. It's a good ways back, 100 yards or so, and to the west.
Yeah, down on the corner down there. Yeah.
But I think it was a small cemetery for maybe the church, what was the name of that church? That was there. That's still half hanging together over
On the
by.
end of, Wilson Street, it's on Wilson Street,
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
church.
Daphne.
Or it could have been, someone's
Mary said it was like a baby.
acreage at
cemetery.
one time.
At one time,
You
it was
know,
a baby cemetery.
Well, we heard it was a Civil War cemetery.
But the babies that died with that disease that came through town, I don't know what it was,
Smallpox.
back in that time. Huh?
Smallpox?
I don't know what
But
it was.
that's not, yeah, we wanna,
Right.
but that piece of property will be a lot of traffic, so a lot of dirt and dust.
yeah, and we live with the dirt and dust.
And I live on
But
Redwood
the
Street.
gas,
and they'll be
if he
tearing
builds
that up.
anything, guys, he's gotta get them gas tanks up. And those
Yeah,
things
they'd
are
be
gonna
going
cost
down
you a
Redner
lot.
Street if they wanna hit
I just
50,
don't
that's
see
the
how
fastest
that-
way.
that's-
Right.
And that's more dust. I just don't think it's a good idea.
There's no concrete evidence that either way if those tanks have been taken out or not. Some say yes, some say no. But the 909 is not what's in question.
I'm sure if they had a business, we could get
Yeah, there's some.
money for the city, but at what
There again,
cost?
he's given us
It would go in one hand and out the other, and we'd be
information
in our
that
pockets
what
trying to
he's-
fix what they tear up.
what he's planning on doing with it,
Mm-hmm.
and it's changed, what, twice?
It's a
But look how long
multi-purpose
he's had the
too.
fish
Yeah,
fry
so,
going
and
in.
he
It's had
wanted, he even
multi-purpose.
wanted to change the zoning that he was asking for. So,
And then they talked about commercial and residential for the cabins, doing both. So if you zone it commercial, then you can't have residents staying there,
Unless you
right?
do half and half.
It would have
Yeah,
been,
yeah.
the request should have been for multi-use if he wanted to do that.
Right.
That is not how the request came. So,
yeah, the request is for straight.
Anyone
commercial.
else against it? She's writing it down.
Oh, okay, Deb. Yes, I'm against it, guys, I am. Just because that's a residential area. We have trouble with Park Street, carrying the mail down there. Y'all know what Park Street is. I can't wait till we get a cop and Park Street's cleaned up. But until then, if we let a commercial go in there, it's gonna be even worse. Yeah, y'all hear how South Bonham is? That's our South Bonham.
My question is, I guess, is
Drive down it. Just drive
is
down
he,
it.
is he actually gonna do this or
Is it gonna look like the fish fry at the Concat?
across the street or whatever?
Right. It takes a lot of money to do what.
Nothing he started has.
Well, this guy buys up stuff and then it's
he
for
resells
sale
it.
So is that what's behind it?
constantly. That property he has behind the community center and the Congap, the fish fry,
They're just trying to make a little extra money,
The
all they're trying to do.
buildings downtown Greenville. He started something there.
I don't mind that.
Resell it.
He starts everything
And
he's
stop
just-
midway.
fly by night. I don't know.
Well, again, the issue is Park Street, so that's what we gotta,
Well, I mean, if you got a plan
But you don't.
and you say, I'm gonna put in this, at least you'd know what he was gonna do, it'd give you a better idea. But just, I wanna go commercial. I don't.
What's that gonna do with the taxes for the people down in that area?
well, it'll only
Do
be
we know?
for that property. But, will it affect the taxes on the other properties? Yeah, probably so.
Well, depending on whatever happens, and with the lake and all these people, and we don't know what's gonna happen, when, where, what, how, anything.
Yeah.
What kind of taxes revenue will the city get from that? Will it really
The-
depend
the
on what is there in
change.
revenue?
Just on the change itself, nothing, depending upon what he put there.
So
If
he gets
there's
some revenue?
tax revenue,
Yeah.
I mean,
Well-
if there was some sort of I know at one time it was tossed around, he said something about an antique shop type thing. That obviously would generate some revenue based on just taxes collected, but
But there is
But
there
there's
is a
no-
difference in residential tax and
Right.
commercial tax, but there's, you know, not significant
Right,
as
not
far as,
significant.
you know.
Still, Ladonia gets very little as sales tax, the state of Texas gets.
No, not sales tax, property tax.
But sales tax, say if there's a commercial business in there, you know, and they're selling stuff or whatever, trailers or who knows. Ladonia gets a pittance compared to the state of Texas. And if you're causing dust and chaos and torn up streets, you know, I just don't think that it's gonna be helpful.
If we knew his plan, and it was a solid plan, that'd be a different story.
So we give him commercial and he could bring in his construction side over there.
Well, he's given us his plan, but can you hold him to that? You know, I would say yes.
you could rezone it based on like light commercial and that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
There are ways to
But-
keep it
but as far as, you know,
somewhat
him
guided.
saying, I'm gonna put in a flea market and then, you know, change it to something else that's compatible or whatever you wanna say, no, you couldn't do anything about that. You know, I mean, if he went from a flea market to a hotel, yeah, you know, there's a major difference, but.
I don't know, maybe everybody else knows, but how did the thing work with Dollar General, for example? Because that had to be rezoned, right? It wasn't commercial already, was it?
I don't know, I think it was.
I think it was already commercial.
Yeah, I think it was.
Yeah.
So
I think-
it was, so that was already done, and then they came with a plan to the city,
Mhm.
and then the city approved that plan, and they did what they were supposed to do, and did they check in every so often, or anything? So it would work the same way, right? If you approved it, then he would have to, he'd say, here's my plan, and kind of like what you were saying, Greg, you know, I'd have to kind of do the same thing, and at some point when he says, oh, I'm gonna put in a hotel, then you would be like, no, or whatever, right? Because that's not what you said.
Right.
So let's come and reapply, or let's talk about it some more, or whatever, but. I think, like, the concerns are about, the road conditions seems to be a pretty big concern, right? What are the conditions of the road? The roads, and in Ladonia, we've got great roads, right? So if we, you know, but we have to do something to help bring commercial into
Right.
the town.
The revenue's gotta come from somewhere, to
Somewhere,
repair
right.
said roads.
But it has to come, you're right, we have to have, so I mean, is it just gonna be enough to maintain it? Because then there's an investment, and then we have better roads, and then we can bring somebody else in and help, I don't know.
Gordon's 909, that's a better commercial spot.
Well, that's what I was fixing to say. Would a different property, possibly that he owns, be a better selection to bring in commercial rather than a residential that's
Because that's right
already
on
residential? Yeah, I mean, it was commercial at one time. Then they redid it and built a house there, or turned it into a house, and so it became residential at that point.
So would the city be able to identify, based on citizens' concerns and things like that as well, to say, here's good roads, and here would be good places where you could put commercial development, but we wouldn't have to have a lot of infrastructure. Now we have taxes, so that we can build up other infrastructure, and then we can bring in commercial to a place like this or whatever. I mean, can the city?
Well, you know, that's kind of the nature of having something that's pre-zoned as a commercial or multi-use, right? So that you encourage that development in those areas. You know, I think the way you want to think about this in general is, so, from both sides of it, right? As a resident of the city of Ladonia, right? If somebody wanted to come in and rezone something to put a new neighborhood development in, right? So I'm paraphrasing a personal experience I had in a neighborhood, right? There was large lots on the backside of that neighborhood. A developer wanted to purchase 2 of those large lots and turn it into a community, a veterans community, right? So he pulls on heartstrings, right? But the nature of those houses were gonna be, they were gonna be in the 900 to 1,000 foot size range to make them affordable. And then we're gonna put those right into the middle of a neighborhood where the average house sizes were 2,500 square feet, right? So immediately you have a concern about the effect of the property values, right, that are being
Surrounding
affected
it.
because of the proximity, right? So you take those things into consideration when you talk about allowing a zoning change, right? The other side of that is, I had a personal experience with a nonprofit that had a residential home that they were using for a nonprofit so very similar to Feeding Fannin, right? It was considered a non-conforming use in that application, right? So neighbors had varying opinions about it. We went to the city to get a major waiver, okay? And that was effectively a rezoning. But what we said was, our plan in this waiver is we want to improve the property, to improve the process and the storage and make it fit more with the character of the neighborhood. And the city council came back and said, okay, we will grant you the major waiver, but in exchange for that waiver, you can't have any ancillary services performed. All you can do is distribute food, okay? And that immediately knocked out 3 programs that organization was partnering with, like Parkland Hospital bus, once a week neighborhood showers, and I can't remember what the third one was, but council has broad authority when we approve. Councils have broad authority when they approve changes to stipulate the reason that they're making that and the conditions that would be allowable for that. So I think it gets into these areas where you say, well, if I own a property, right, I should be able to use it the way that I want to, but my rights end where your rights begin as a neighbor, right? So I think we've heard from citizens, not just tonight, but before, about their concerns about that changing from residential to commercial, and that's the majority of the input that we need, right? Because it begins to speak to the character of the community that we're trying to create, right? Are we going to let anybody do what they want to do on a piece of property that they own? Or are we going to say this has, what affects one indirectly affects all directly? Or sorry, what affects one directly affects all indirectly. So that's the nature of the walk a mile in somebody's shoes, look at it from my neighbor's perspective, think about what it looks like 50 years in the future. I mean, it's all a part of the process.
And if you look on the map, like you're saying, if you look on the map where Park Street is, okay, you've got Redner that goes this way. And then you got Mill that connects to his property, okay? And then you got Commerce Street that also connects with the railroad going through it, okay? And then over here, you got Church Street. Every bit of that, dear, is residential.
Yeah.
Every bit of it is residential. So, yeah, you're gonna affect all those people on those streets right there. Every one of them, their taxes. If there is a lot of traffic with kids riding bikes up and down that area, I mean, yeah, you're gonna affect every bit of it.
As I recall, when he came in and asked for it to be commercial, someone had asked him what he wanted to put in there, and he didn't even know yet.
At the first meeting, no, he didn't.
Yeah. When this organization went to the city for the waiver, we had architectural renderings for what we wanted to do. That was the level of detail that nonprofit took for that request, right? Nonprofits traditionally don't have a lot of money laying around for doing things like architectural renderings. So it's a big deal when you ask a municipality to rezone. We really kind of need to know what you're going to do.
Yeah, the first time he sent Rainey or whatever her name is, and I mean, I kind of thought we got more out of her than we did him on his first time he came, but still, it was very, very unclear as to what he was really wanting to do.
What are the neighbors saying about this? Did they have?
Nothing.
not here.
None of them, they were all sent a letter. They were all made aware.
She's the
Does anybody,
neighbor, she lives on
anybody read the
Red
letter?
She is outside the 200
Yeah,
feet
you're right. But
of his
did that just
property.
have to be within certain, I think I was too far away.
200 feet.
Yeah, I was
The
too far
closest
away.
one was here in left already.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you're going, depending, there's very lot of streets you could use to get to Park Street.
Sure.
It would affect a lot of neighborhoods.
The end result is just not knowing what he's really wanting to do. I
Yeah.
think it's that unknown.
I
that
just take into
wouldn't-
consideration him
Some
too.
of what I kind of got was that they just wanted to rezone to sell it.
I'm worried about my
So
road.
that's kind of what I felt about.
That's what
the law.
everybody in Pecan Gap is telling me.
Eccentric or
That's-
whatever,
it's
I don't
just
know what you
flips.
wanna call it. He's,
That if he gets it commercial, he'll flip it, just like he's gonna do these 2 spots on 34.
Well, so I think, make sure anybody who has any concerns, it'll be posted on the agenda for the council meeting that it will be discussed and voted on, but, there's an opportunity at the beginning of that meeting for anybody to come up and say 3 minutes worth of, on any topic on the agenda, so.
And they were made aware that this was for them tonight. And
They're not
They're not
even
They're not even here.
Yeah, he's not here either, okay.
And what's gonna happen to, like, say, 4 Edna Street? It's pretty bad. What are they gonna do with people coming out and making it even worse? The city doesn't have any money to fix the roads.
Well, we don't know what he's gonna do yet. He
And then
may
you got
turn
water
around
and
and put it up
sewer
for sale
if he
tomorrow.
needs
We don't know.
massive amounts.
Can you make him pay for the roads?
Yeah.
I mean, if
You
you
make him
do
pay for
get
the
in
roads?
commercial, can you make him maintain the roads? Is what I guess. I'm
City
saying.
road, no.
Yeah, city streets, so.
Just terrible, not maintained.
Well,
With the traffic, you're gonna have a lot of potholes.
Yeah.
It's gonna be even worse during the rainy days.
Possibly.
Go down Redwood Street, you'll see.
no, go
You
down
can see where
Park
the garbage
Street.
trucks are having to cut the corners because they
But you
can't
better
make
take
the
a truck.
turns as
Yeah.
it
Let's
is.
just agree that you could say, go down blank street.
Yeah.
Just that side of
Fill in the
town.
blank.
Just pick one.
Just go on that side of town. Commerce is so bad, guys. I don't understand it.
Does anybody have anything else about this rezoning?
Move to adjourn.
Maybe we will adjourn at 7:50. Russell's made a motion.
Second.
I don't care.
Debbie is,
Debbie?
in a second. Vote. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, so we're adjourned at 7:50.
Awesome, thank you.